Yeah.
Because all these organizations I'm talking about, and of course, secret societies are a wonderful example, they are structured as compartmentalized pyramids. If you
Mm-hmm.
join the Freemasons at the, for instance, at the lowest level, say the bottom three levels of degree, the so-called blue degrees, where most Freemasons are, they have no idea what is going on higher in the pyramid. They only know what they're told in their little compartment. And then you get to the top of the pyramid of the Freemasons, and there you get the tiny few that know about the pyramid in its entirety and what it's there to do. And therefore, a tiny, tiny few within the Freemasons know what the Freemasons organization is, a network globally, is really doing. And then
Mm-hmm.
you go through the top of the Freemasons, through the top of these other secret societies, and you enter another pyramid. And that's where the real understanding of what's going on lies. And everyone below them is at some level of ignorance of what's actually happening. And if you go into the bottom levels of these secret societies, the great majority of them will be completely in the dark about what the organization's really there for. And then you look at a corporation, exactly the same. People working in different jobs in a corporation have no idea what the real
Yeah.
agenda of that corporation is. Only the tiny few at the top do. Same with government, same with government agencies, same with the media. And so what you're looking at is a web, if you like, of these pyramidal organizations where only a few in each organization knows what the organization's really there for. The vast majority of people, therefore, who every day are making decisions, this is law enforcement, police, military, the same, which are pushing the world in this direction towards this global centralized military state, Orwellian state, without any idea that that's what they're doing. It all seems random to them. And so what people like me do is pull the strands together and show, actually, you know, that organization that you are involved in and earns your living, and you think you're doing this and doing that, this when you put it into the web is
Yeah.
what it's actually doing and why it's doing it. And when you do that, the world looks very different. Now, coming round to the point of your question, if you go into this spider, around the spider in this web are the most exclusive secret societies. And at that level, they will know what the true controlling force really is. As you come out into the pyramid, even people who are knowingly working towards this Orwellian global state will not know the true nature of the force behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've spent nearly 30 years now researching this in some 60 odd countries now, and and that force is not human ultimately. It's
Mm.
this web of control that I've described is how it plays out in the world that we see and the world that we experience. But the ultimate controllers are actually not human, and this is why when you follow this conspiracy of human control through history,
Yeah.
um, that you see it progressing over thousands of years and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And then people say, and it's a good question, um, why would people, um, all those centuries, even thousands of years ago, work to create this global centralized state when they weren't going to be around to see it? Why would they do that? Well, there are many, many reasons. Obviously, it's very financially rewarding if you serve this network of deceit, but there has to be a common theme, a common force that spans this, coordinating this
Yeah.
through the ages, to get to where we are now. And that force is not human. And it doesn't ultimately operate in the dimension of reality that we experience as of the world. This is another vast area that I talk about that is kept from us overwhelmingly. And that is that the so-called physical world that we think we're experiencing is illusory. Uh, Quantum physics and people that go down that road have shown that to be
Yeah.
true. But if you look at mainstream science, what it does, it has to acknowledge the existence of the findings of quantum physics and the connected research that goes with it, because it exists. But having acknowledged its existence, it then goes about its business in its area of science as if quantum physics does not exist. And of course, what is now known about the illusory nature of physical reality should fundamentally affect every aspect of science. But it doesn't, because they want to hold this perception, that word again, that this world is real as we experience it. Because if we can believe in that, we are so far away from understanding how our reality can be manipulated, that when people like me come out and say this is what's happening, they say that's ridiculous, you're crazy, that's
Yeah.
impossible. Well,
You're right.
what I'm saying is impossible if the world is solid, but it isn't. If you think of a world of solidity, then what does that mean immediately? It means limitation. It means a limitation on virtually everything. But when you realize that this is just a decoded projection,
Yeah.
then the projection is not limited and solidified. Thus, you can start to realize that reality, which we experience in terms of solidity, is actually malleable. It's just like in many ways, like a Wi-Fi field that we are decoding. Now, let's just think about this. If you are in the shadows and you know that, and you know how to manipulate that, and you have structured society and controlled the flow of information to overwhelmingly stop your target population from realizing that, then you are in an immense and fundamental situation of power. Because not only are you manipulating a world in a way that the population you are manipulating does not understand is possible, you are also getting the population in vast numbers to immediately reject and laugh and ridicule anyone who is exposing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's a real a bind in my public events. I don't talk about the manipulation of human society without talking about the nature of reality. Because without understanding the illusory nature of reality, we cannot understand how society is treated.
Yeah, you're right. This is it's the comparison with the Matrix film, yeah, because in the Matrix there's a defined world and everything is programmed like this, like this, like this. But the reality, as you said, is different. There is more possibilities we have to explore, but mainstream media don't talk about it, or mainstream science don't talk about it. It's a good notice. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the topic. I heard about you that you are talking about Saturn and aliens and this agenda behind. And it's right.
Yeah, the thing is though that I talk about this in the books at length because there are so many dots to connect and strands to connect
Mm,
before the apparently what becomes becomes credible, becomes understandable.
mm,
Um, and so it's as they say, it's a long story with many things, many pieces of information that need to be fitted together. But what I find very compelling
mhm,
is the way that um, what ancient societies have said and believed, what ancient cultures have said and believed,
yeah.
and what I'm hearing from insiders and people that have been on the inside, whether they wanted to be or not, is the same. You know, when you have this theme from insiders, and I've been researching this now. Let's not forget, for nearly 3 decades, spent phenomenal amounts of time in the United States, for instance, researching this.
Mhm,
And when insiders are saying this is what's going on, that this is what's going on, this is how it's done, and this is the non-human force behind it.
mhm.
And then you read about the beliefs, the legends, and the accounts of ancient cultures, and they're saying the same. It's very, very, very compelling to put the two together.
Yeah, for now I'm preparing here in Czech Republic will be some dash about Sumers, about Anunnaki history, and
Right.
and now I have possibility to hear the translations from the original stories from the original writings because there's through the time were censorship about or missed translations from the original story. So when you read the original story, the old stories, you see there are some references about gods, about aliens when we translate it in modern way, and about the rocket ship and so. So there's some notice we can find about some intervention from outer space about aliens and so and the as we talked now it seems to me that the aliens have or still have today control over people or some there's some intervention in this part. What do you think?
Well, well, yes. One of the major areas that I have written about in recent books and go into much deeper in the one that's coming out in November
Hmm.
is the area of transhumanism and the plan within the next not very long, up to 2025, 2030, to begin to connect the human brain and the human mind to technology and
Mm-hmm.
artificial intelligence. And I call this the assimilation because it's assimilating human thinking into artificial intelligence. So there is no human thinking anymore, only artificial intelligence thinking. And the question that I have been asking is what is artificial intelligence ultimately? Yes, we have what I call in the new book algorithmic um, artificial intelligence, but there's artificial intelligence beyond that. And we are building a technological structure which is made up of all that goes under the name of smart technology, smartphones, smart
Yeah.
meters, smart uh, television, smart everything, which actually is are different expressions of the one grid, the so-called smart grid. And this grid, it's much bigger than this, but is being designed to think for humans, to take over the human mind. Is what it's doing.
Yeah.
Now, it's like I've said before. When you are seeking to create a system of global control that demands for its success a technological, computerized grid
Mhm.
of what we would call high technology.
Yep.
Are we really saying that there is a force that was manipulating human society and wanted to get to this end? And to get to this end, certain technology was needed. And
Mhm.
that just by coincidence, just when they needed it, this technology appeared. I mean,
Mhm.
are they sitting around a table saying, we are so lucky? Just when we needed this technology, there it is. Some geek in a garage in California has just invented it. What a stroke of luck. And of course,
The-
it's nonsense.
Yeah, it is.
These these so-called geek stories based on people. I'll give you a quick story. The BBC did this documentaries a
Mhm.
few months ago now. Um, was called something like The Secrets of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And there was one point where it did a sequence of garage doors on the screen. And as each garage door came up, they said what had been invented behind
Yeah.
that garage
Yeah. Yeah.
door, right? So obviously, someone's come up with a cover story initially saying what we'll say is that these geeks discovered ABC um, in a garage. And it's got so ridiculous now. I think someone must have said, "Well, hold on, the garage story is wearing out here. People are going to ask questions in a minute of what it is about garages and Thai technology." So the cover story will I'm sure change when other technology comes out. But you take, for instance, this. I think Apple have this office assistant called Siri,
Yeah.
and this office assistant technology, which is kind of becoming everywhere now.
Mhm.
Well, that technology was seed funded by the CIA.
Yeah.
Why would
Yeah.
the CIA want people to have office assistants just because they want it to be for the benefit of humankind?
Yeah.
I mean, has the CIA ever done anything for the benefit of humankind? Is the question. But where I'm going with this is that it's my view after all these years of
Mhm.
research that this technology that we're now seeing as high technology, or look at the latest thing, uh, existed when in our, if you like, timeline, um, people were knocking rocks together
Mhm.
and shooting bows and arrows. But if you give that technology to those people at that point in the timeline,
Mhm.
what are they going to do with it? What could they do with it? So humanity has been brought along to be intellect to work with this technology
Yeah.
as they bring it in, but not expanded consciousness
Mhm.
enough to see what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a Central American shaman who asked the question, explain to me the brilliance of the human engineer
Mhm.
against the stupidity of humans belief systems
Yeah.
and superstitions. And this apparent contradiction is because that part of the brain that is the intellectual clever
Mm-hmm.
part that works with technology has been developed so that we can build our own prison, because that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That part that you might call wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
that part that can see dots connect rather and see the picture, not just the dots in and of themselves, that has been suppressed and been discouraged. And therefore, we are in the process now of building a technological prison for the human mind, which is
Mm-hmm.
controlled by a non-human force, while laughing and ridiculing and condemning those that are exposing it.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the numbers of people, I've seen that so clearly around the world in the last 18 months as I've been talking around the world. The number of people who are seeing now through the through the cover stories, through the illusion, is gathering all the time, and has never been greater. Not in known human history anyway. So there are very encouraging things happening, as well as this agenda moving on.
See, this is a really interesting situation because, as you mentioned here, or other way, other side, from the, I think it's on the division between previous century and this century, 20th century and 21st century, that consciousness of many people is changing. I think there is increasing count of people who are thinking different way, that are thinking about things different way, and they are asking for what is about, what is going on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah, that's
yeah,
absolutely right. And, you see it in things like the Las Vegas shooting,
yeah, yeah,
and the way that more people all the time are not accepting the official story.
yeah.
And when you question it, it falls apart. And, I've been researching these terrorist attacks and shootings for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've rarely come across one um, where the official story was in such tatters so quickly as this Las Vegas shooting. And part of that is either they're becoming blasé about it, and not really doing it properly in terms of selling the lie,
Mm.
and leaving those in their story, or they are starting to panic, and from panic comes mistakes.
Yeah,
They are starting to panic in the face of finding it ever more difficult to sell these stories to the public.
yeah,
And so we are in a situation where, those of us that have worked for a long time to expose this can feel great encouragement in what is happening. But of course, still the great majority um, uh, believe the official story. But uh, one of the major reasons for that is that they don't hear any other story.
mm.
If you don't go to, especially with this algorithm censorship now, if you don't make the choice to go and find out what other people outside the mainstream are uncovering about these things, then all you're going to get is the mainstream story.
Mm.
And one of the greatest forms of mind control, perception control, is repetition.
Yeah.
If people hear the same thing enough times, they'll believe it. It might be a load of old nonsense,
If
but
you repeat fake news, they will believe it again.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we shouldn't. Excuse me. We shouldn't get heartened by what is happening. I would be disheartened if the same number of people that were thinking differently was the same now as it was when I started out. Because in those days it was next to nobody.
Mm.
Now it's great, and gathering numbers of people. So it's good. It's good. It drives you on to keep going.
So you think it's optimistic, like me? I think it's an optimistic situation. So
Yeah,
uh,
I am feeling optimistic, but of course we shouldn't be complacent either. There's still one heck of a lot of work to do. Um,
yeah,
and another reason to feel optimistic is what we talked about earlier. You
yeah.
know, these these people and this network of organizations are not seeking to demonetize the alternative media and to censor its information on the scale they're attempting
Mm.
because it's a bit of fun and a good laugh. They're doing it because they know they have to, because of the effect it's had. But
Mm.
the genie is out of the bottle now, and it's not going back.
Mm.
It's not going back. Well, it's not going back if people continue to have the backbone to not allow it to go back and not be intimidated. And this is one reason why this new book out in November, been told, is going to be so explosive.
Mm-hmm.
What it's going to do is make all these people that are looking at the world differently,
Mm.
at whatever level that is, it's going to get those people to punch the air because of what it says and how it says it. But it's going to make those people that are seeking to suppress human freedom and suppress human freedom of speech and to impose their will on others, it's going to make them absolutely furious.
Mm.
And so, one of the key reasons for that is that I've not um, allowed myself to be intimidated into expressing myself in the way that um, political correctness and the world of censorship insists that I do. I
Mm.
won't do that because once we go down that road, then there's only one end to that road. There's only one place where that road leads, and that's the end of freedom. And
Mm.
we have to draw a line in the sand, a line in that road, if you like, and say not only here but no further. But we are winding it back now. What's happened before, and I really would like the so-called progressive um, mentality, which is not liberal. I'm liberal myself in the dictionary definition of the word. But what this progressive tyranny is doing is not liberal.
Mm.
It's fascistic
Yeah.
in terms of its targeting of human freedom. And I do hope that it will dawn on them at some point that everything they claim to stand for, they are actually seeking to destroy. And when they see the contradiction of that, maybe they'll reevaluate um, the way they behave. Because people say, for instance, that this Antifa network of groups is,
Mm.
no, it's not. It's the extreme right. It's fascistic. And, this left right um, spectrum of so called political thought
Mm-hmm.
is not left right at all. It's a circle.
Yes.
Because if you go far enough to the left and far enough to the right, those two meet on the same ground.
Yeah.
because the far left and the far right, the Antifa left and the Nazi right, is actually the same mentality,
Mm.
wearing a different disguise while claiming to be different. They're not. They're the same.
Yes, in a different way to say everything is connected. So everything is connected together, one part to the. I have maybe because of time last question. It's about we talking about information. So maybe good question is about how to where you go if you want to take real good information. What's your for you sources that are really relevant to read it or listen if I want to find the true as possible.
Well, again, I would come at it from another angle.
Mm,
Um, Instead of saying go here, go there, that's where you'll find um, information. Um, we need to become streetwise, questioning and filtering so that we as individuals decide and what we don't.
mm,
And the filtering says, yeah, I'll accept that, I won't accept that. That feels right to me, that doesn't.
mhm.
So you become, as the individual, the observer, you become the arbiter of what you believe and don't believe. Instead of going here and saying, yes, this is a good website, I'm going to believe everything that it tells me or everything that it says, um, well, that's giving your power away to that website. Everything that I, if you like, stand for is is based on people taking their power back, not
Mhm.
giving it away to someone else, not saying, oh no, I don't believe that anymore, so I'm going to believe that in its entirety, This is about people um, becoming their own arbiter of what they believe and what their perceptions are,
Yeah.
and not taking everything um, off the shelf and having a complete belief system, download, download, download. No, filter all information.
Yeah.
Take what feels right and leave the rest. And if it doesn't feel right because you can't believe it's true, then do some more research, because invariably you will find, if you go deep enough in the rabbit hole, that what appears to be impossible on one level of awareness becomes perfectly logical and explainable on another level of awareness. So it's a journey, and the more informed we can become, the more um, we trust ourselves to decide what becomes part of our perception and what doesn't. Instead of being told by others, the freer this world will be, and the less control any manipulation will have over people, because people will not accept a lock, stock, and barrel belief system anymore from anyone, and neither should they,
Mhm.
because tyranny wins.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So thank you for your time. Maybe we can
Real pleasure.
maybe we can make some invitation to your presentation in Bratislava for the Czech and Slovak people.
Yeah,
Yeah. When is it? Can you remember?
it's at the end of October.
And
I'm going to be in Bratislava in about a week. I've got my diary here, and it's going to be on Saturday, the 28th of October, where I'll be speaking in Bratislava all day, um,
so
10 in the morning till 10 at night, and it's going to connect a phenomenal number of dots. And of course, the talk always moves on and moves on and moves on.
all
If
right.
people saw the presentation I did in Australia 18 months ago, and
Hmm.
they'll see the progression of how new information is introduced all the time.
So we will present some other news from
Oh,
the
all the time,
all
all
the
the
time,
time.
all the time. Well, that's okay, good to know. So now we can invite people to go in Bratislava and see you again, and I hope we will see again through the Skype, or we can talk about some other topics for the next time.
Okay,
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
nice to talk to you. Real pleasure. Bye.
Bye.